For classic matches just like the World Cup videos, why not go to patreon.com/drunkredhead. Thanks to the pay-per-view result, we can still enjoy main event on What Happened on My Universe mode. Yes, it's main event, and we were in Memphis, Tennessee, and surprisingly, the show opened with the chairman of the board, Vince McMahon, coming to say a few things in the ring, which is a bit of a rare one for us. Vince said he wasn't going to sit about and yammer for 20 minutes about the state of the WWE. What he had to say was something very real. A lot of things happened backstage, so he called out Stone Cold Steve Austin for a chat. And of course, Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't going to say no to coming out and talking to Vince, so he came out. He said his piece, but we're going to ignore the stuff at the bottom of the screen here so we can progress the story, where Vince McMahon blames Stone Cold for ruining everything at the pay-per-view when he got the pinfall win for Team WWE, because Vince wanted to change it to Nitro all along, and so next week on main event it will be Nitro. And that pissed Stone Cold off. Steve Austin proceeded to beat the hell out of Vince McMahon and hit him with another clothesline before being held back by the referee. But still, it turns out it is going to be Nitro. On to the opening match of the evening, and it was big sexy Kevin Nash, who got pretty much whooped at the pay-per-view against Triple H. He was supposed to be taking on Brian Pillman, but Triple H came out and carried on what he was doing at the pay-per-view. On the steel ramp, Triple H hit Kevin Nash with a huge sidewalk slam and a back suplex before heading to the ring. And once Kevin Nash finally got into the ring, Triple H just chucked him out and stood tall. Time for a match that actually got to start this time, and it started with the Big Boss Man coming down for a match, which is another thing we haven't seen in a while, so yay for that. But he was taking on The Rock, who returned at November to Remember as part of Team WWE. The Rock began with his punch combo, you know, the one where he spits in his hand at the end, then proceeded to hit a lot of moves on the Big Boss Man in quick succession, ending with a massive Samoan drop and the Spinebuster, which of course led to the People's Elbow. He wasn't done after the People's Elbow, of course. There was one more move to hit, the Rock Bottom, which he did and won the match. And sorry, Bossman fans, this one ain't for you. The Rock wins. At November to Remember, somehow Chris Jericho beat the odds and beat Bret Hart by submission in the Walls of Jericho, despite the Hart family being there. This time he was taking on a member of the Hart family, Jim Neidhart, who was of course accompanied by Bret. Jericho started well, immediately reversing a Neidhart suplex and hitting a forearm before elbowing him in the back of the head and hitting a spinning heel kick. It was a nice few combos. It didn't last and Neidhart took control, hitting a belly to belly and a shoulder barge before hitting an atomic drop. And then he went for an RKO, which was a bit of a misjudgment. Jericho reversed, hit a DDT. Chris Jericho then pulled the lion salt out of the bag and went for the pin. Neidhart though kicked out at 2, so Jericho drop kicked him in the back of the head. Jericho switched his focus to the outside, hitting Bret Hart with a neck breaker before heading back in the ring and getting hit with a neck breaker of his own by Jim Neidhart. Neidhart took control, working on his neck, and went for a Cobra clutch, but Jericho reversed out of it. Jericho couldn't escape Neidhart's big finishing slam though, and kicked out at 2, #press Y for resiliency. The pair headed to the outside, and with Jim Neidhart incapacitated, Bret Hart got an enziguri in the face from Jericho. Back in the ring, Jericho hit a code breaker, went for the pin, but Bret Hart got on the apron and then disrupted it. Jericho got up to complain, but while he was doing that, Neidhart got up behind him, hit him with a big suplex, and then that big finishing slam again. This time Chris Jericho wasn't able to kick out. Jim Neidhart and the Hart family win this round. Goldberg was out next. I wonder what he was going to talk about, considering what happened at the pay-per-view. To refresh you, he beat Tatsumi Fujinami and then got attacked by Andre the Giant afterwards, and then shock and horror, he called out Andre the Giant. Andre headed out to ringside with a swagger and then proceeded to insult Goldberg's intelligence. Goldberg thought that Andre the Giant was testing him, knowing which buttons to press, and he said he was going to get a crazy ass whooping, while Andre just told him to calm down for a second. We need to get back to reality here. Goldberg then said you just had to poke the hornet's nest, but before he could do anything else, he got kicked in the nuts. Goldberg gained control again after that, but I forgot to clip the bit where he reversed it, so here's the end of the brawl. Brand new European champion Mark Henry came out next as he had a match. He was taking on Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Mark Henry wanted to get things started, so before Ricky Steamboat had even finished posing on the corner, Mark Henry jumped in and started hitting moves, starting with that slam. Henry gave Steamboat a right clattering with that running attack, chucking him by his hair and then beating him until he bled. But when he started bleeding, that woke Ricky Steamboat up, who clotheslined Henry to the outside and hit him with a couple of moves out there. Mark Henry eventually hit a reversal on the outside and took Steamboat back in the ring, where he would slam him down and hit him with a Junkyard Dog style headbutt. After that, Mark Henry squished Ricky Steamboat by splashing him off the second rope and then hit a World's Strongest Slam for the easy win. Following the match, Mark Henry wanted to celebrate with the belt, but while he was doing it, look who turned up, former champion Booker T. Mark Henry looked at him and lifted the belt in his face. As we're switching to Nitro next time, for the last time, this is main event, and what a main event it is, as the new tag team champions, the Natural Disasters, faced off against the former champs, Sting and the Ultimate Warrior, the Blade Runners. This match started off with Sting hitting a running DDT on Earthquake to gain control. He hit a leg drop, but then Earthquake got a reversal, throwing him down. But that wasn't the only reversal we saw, because after a couple of shoulder barges from Earthquake, Sting got his foot up, went for a slam, but Earthquake reversed that. Then took out the Ultimate Warrior and threw Sting about. The Natural Disasters hit some double teamness before Typhoon threw Sting into the corner for some snake eyes. He took out the Warrior again, as those tactics proved fruitful last time, and then they hit some more double teamness, but Sting quickly took control and hit an inverted atomic drop on Earthquake, which meant he could tag into the Warrior. The Ultimate Warrior hit a pair of neck breakers before going for a gorilla press slam. That failed because Earthquake reversed and took him out with a clothesline and an elbow drop. Then more double teamness. Typhoon took the air out of the Warrior with a Stinger Splash before smacking him down with his Spinebuster finisher, which is a bit weird. He tagged into Earthquake. We got a glitch! Earthquake took out Sting before crushing the Warrior's chest by sitting on it. He pinned him and won the match, and the Natural Disasters seem to have the Blade Runner's number. That's it for another edition of What Happened on My Universe Mode! Like and subscribe, NXT's next.